playground.
Hooray!
This is the Black Lives Don't Matter podcast. That's what I said. Black lives don't matter. What kind of up podcast is this? Black lives don't matter? Really? Man, who is this dude? Black guy? Wait, so a black man got a podcast called Black Lives Don't Matter. It's like President Obama waving the rebel flag. I done seen it all now. Maybe this is what it takes. Time to shine the light on all the times black life didn't matter. Talk your truth, brother. Listen up. Let's get down with this. Because if black lives really mattered, we wouldn't need a movement. Now would we? For full episodes, subscribe to Black Lives Don't Matter, where you get your podcasts.
Today, I'm talking about a subject that has been gaining some popularity in the news. Well, I don't know if it's mainstream as of yet. I know that I know about it, and I do know that a few of my friends know about it. And the subject is, okay, let me set it up for you. Apparently there are neighborhoods that are being planned by affluent black celebrities and some other black developers as well. I know it's happening in Georgia. This is happening in Georgia and a few other places, but some of these people, some of these black investors and black celebrities and sports stars and business people are starting to create communities. And they're creating communities with their own amenities that are geared towards helping black people. Like, for instance, a black bank, something like that. Like where the bank in this community is owned by black people, or a black-owned bank, or a black-owned coffee shop, et cetera, et cetera. And not like the hood, like a nice neighborhood, like an affluent neighborhood, like an affluent neighborhood. And let me set this whole thing up. Let me do this. I was having a conversation the other day with one of my best friends in my entire life. And I highly respect this person. I highly, highly respect this man. I consider this person to be my brother. And we debate on many things, on a lot of things. We debate politics, and we talk about religion and business and a lot of stuff, but we rarely talk about race. Like extremely, I mean, like every time we address the issue of race, he becomes like super uncomfortable, like really uncomfortable. Did I mention that my friend is white? He's Caucasian. He's a white guy, and I love this man and his family because for my entire life, they've always treated me as one of their brothers, and their mother always treated me as one of her kids, and vice versa. My mother has always treated my friend just like, he was there when, she gave birth to him. And about a month ago, I guess we were having one of those tough conversations in some weeks that were prior, and he called me one day to, we were talking about, all kinds of, things that happened to the black race over the course, and he just a lot of stuff that he didn't really understand or really care to understand. I mean, he tried to, but he just could not understand things conceptually. But he called me to tell me that he was starting to understand some things, and I really kind of appreciated that. And then a little while later, maybe a few days later, he called me back and told me that he had watched a documentary called High on the Hog, which helped him gain a little more perspective into the black experience, which I was, again, appreciative of that. And he was excited about it, that he sat through it and watched it. And, I was excited. We had a good conversation about it. And I thought that, I thought it was very positive. And a couple of days ago, so this happened. A couple of days ago, he sent me an article, or was telling me about an article where I guess Tyler Perry and Oprah are trying to put together, some sort of community to have, to basically highlight black-owned business. And he said to me, this is segregation. This is like segregation. Why do you want to be separate? Why do these people want to be separate? And I was like, good question. But he got upset and agitated. But I explained to him why I think that we need this to happen. This needs to happen. And there's an exception. There's a great reason why. There's a great reason why I think personally that this is something that Black America needs. Black America needs black neighborhoods that are designed to help black people and not hurt black people. And it's almost any time that I talk about black people getting something or getting their just due or anything, my friend becomes agitated. And part of the reason is because I understand some of the things, because he's had to struggle in his life too, and he doesn't see the difference between his struggle and our struggle. But there is. There's a very distinct difference between his struggle and my struggle. We're both from, I'm from the north, he's from the south. And we met because I went to high school here and graduated here. And from day one, this guy's been one of my day ones. When I came to this town, it was very racist, extremely racist. It's still racist. There's still a lot of racism going on here in town. But like I said, he and his family, his brother and his mother, and his grandparents at the time, they were beautiful people, God rest their souls. They embraced me like I was one of their children. And I was grateful for that, especially in a climate like this, especially in a climate where like when I used to come here, my grandmother used to work for a lady. My grandmother and my aunt used to clean houses for a white lady. But that's what they did. And they were subservient. And I would watch this and I didn't understand. And I played. While I was young, while my grandmother cleaned this lady's house, I would play. And the lady was very friendly with us, and she was, friendly to my grandmother. But I did not understand until later that my grandmother and my aunt, that's what they did. They cleaned houses for white people because that's the only thing that they could do. And I guess it made me upset, but it didn't make me upset at white people individually. It was more of a collective thing. Like you say, I hate people, but I love person. That's very much like my situation. my friend is a very noble person. I love this guy to death. But there are some things that he didn't understand, and he does not understand about the black experience in this country and why it is important for black people to have us, for us to have our own things. So the first thing I did to kind of help him out is we went down memory lane, and I explained to him all the instances where black people were pushed like to a particular area and then left to their own devices. But when these black people began to thrive and succeed, everything they built, white people came and took away from them violently. I know about Black Wall Street. That's, and I get it. I'm sorry that it happened, but there's nothing that he could do about it. And I let him know that. I didn't hold him responsible for that. It was something that happened that neither one of us, but it's something that happened in our history, and it's something that happened between the two races, and it's something that I think about a lot. I went recently to Rosewood with my wife. We went to Rosewood and sat and just looked at the house. And I'll tell you what, it's on a road, it's on a 2-lane highway. And if you blink, you'll miss it. But I look at these things where we were all just trying to be ourselves. We were pushed here. We were relegated to this place. We were trying to do our things. But as soon as we did our things were taken away from us, burned and destroyed. And we were killed. Black people were killed, and that's just the facts. I mean, I'm not trying to sound bitter or angry about it. I'm just trying to explain to him what the facts are about why these things need to happen. So he was like, well, why? Why do you need this to happen? And I said, well, for one, if I go to the doctor, I don't get the same kind of health care that you get. And he didn't understand. I said, okay, if I go and I get approved for a home loan, my rate is higher than yours a lot of times. If you and I were to go and approve for a home, they're going to look at you as more credible than me if they even approve me at all. There aren't government programs that are targeted specifically at your race and designed to hurt your race. There is not that for you. There's all kinds of stuff. Environmental racism. That's why this needs to happen. We need to have a safe community where we can actually breathe the air and drink the water without getting sick. We need that. Not to mention, the reason we need that is because every other race is allowed to live amongst themselves without question. Every single race is allowed to live in their own communities, and those communities thrive because they put back into their communities. Everybody, nobody says anything about it until we want to do it. Until black people want to do this, and then it becomes a problem. Then it becomes a problem. The minute that we try and do things for ourselves, we are met with resistance. It's like being in a toxic relationship, and I kind of get where he was coming from. He was like, well, it's segregation. It's why would you want to? I said, well, it's really not about you. It's not about, and this is from my perspective, of course. It's really not about white people or really wanting to get away from it. Well, it's like being in a toxic relationship, right? If you dating somebody and they constantly dogging you, eventually you're gonna want to leave and do your own thing, start a life, and try to move on. But you can't. And that's what it is in our case. It's not about you. It is about our love for ourselves. And that's what I truly believe, is that this is love for ourselves. Us actively trying to do something that is positive for ourselves instead of having somebody else do it for us. Because, well, you know what happens. And I had to explain to him, and I had to get him to understand throughout history, it's just the way that it's been. Every time we've relied on anything like, we've always been done wrong. It's just, I mean, it's not his fault. It's just the facts. So, yeah, I believe we do need a bank with that's owned by a black person, because if I go into this bank and sit down across from somebody that looks like me, it's not really going to get that much, or I shouldn't get that much racial tension. You know what I mean? We are always met with resistance whenever we try to assemble. They have a problem with us being together. There's a problem with that. And the problem is they're afraid, and we've all heard this, they're afraid that if we become aware and powerful, that we will do to them what they did to us. But all we want to do is live in peace and thrive like everyone else, like everybody else. But we are the lowest things on the totem pole in this country. And it's a shame that we need these own things. I mean, for instance, why are there black colleges? Why are there black colleges? Because we were not getting proper education. We were not being properly educated. And we could not advance. So we needed these institutions. These things needed to happen. That needed to happen. And what happened? We started seeing influxes of educated black people. And by the way, the United States has the largest population of educated Africans or black population on the face of the earth. Also, along with black people in America, have the 16th largest economy. Remember that, okay? I'm going to come back to that in a little bit. But like I was saying, you know, we need these institutions. It's long overdue. They never question these things when we live in the ghettos, when we're in the hood. When we live in the hood, nobody says anything about us living together because we can be policed, we can be controlled, we can be manipulated. They never say anything about this. We don't have any say. In the hood, a lot of people, a lot of black people, some do. I'm not going to say everybody, but some do. But a lot of people don't own the places where they dwell. They don't own their apartments. They don't own their homes. They rent, or they're Section 8, or whatever it is. It's just the facts. It's just what happens. And as a result, the areas. I mean, these people don't own this stuff. There's a lot of empty lots here. These that are not owned by these people that live in the neighborhood. They're owned by landlords who don't live in this neighborhood, and they don't clean it up on purpose. They do it on purpose, and the environment is bad. I mean, look at what's happening. I mean, the food choices in the neighborhoods. I mean, it's just something as simple as that. The next time, I mean, I don't know if you recognize the food choices in the different neighborhoods. I mean, if you want chicken in a white neighborhood, you can go to Chick-fil-A, or you don't even have to go to fast food. You can go to Chipotle, or you don't even have to go to Chipotle. If you want a fine meal, you can go to a fine dining restaurant. If we want chicken in the hood, we can go to KFC, we can go to Popeyes, or we could go to the chicken spot on a corner. And those places right there are they ain't nothing good. There's nothing good. They're killing us. They're giving us all kinds of diseases. And everything in our food stores, everything, we are being poisoned. And we love it, and we drink it down in big 32-ounce glasses of Kool-Aid, giant things of sugar, and looking on the back of the package, polysorbate 80 and yellow dye number 5, all this stuff that's giving us ailments and sicknesses and things of that nature. But they don't have that over there. They have a Whole Foods. You know, and that's why we need these things, because we need access to food. We need access to better food. We have poor food choices in our neighborhoods. We really do. But miraculously, you know, there are some places that we can, you know, get a good meal, but unfortunately, a lot of these meals are still really aren't good for us because it's, you know, high cholesterol, high fat. It's just what we know. It's what we've been indoctrinated into. It's what we've learned and been taught. You know, we've come up with ourselves, and you know, but there's research about, you know, how to keep ourselves healthy. But a lot of that information is kept from us. Thank God for social media, because now we can actually do something about it. We can learn some things. You know, not everything. You know, I mean, you can't get all your knowledge from social media, but you can get a few things, like a, you know, good workout regimen or something like that. You know, a good, you know, meal plan or something like that, something that's going to help you out. But these places, a lot of these places they're not going to help you out. This is not going to help you out. You know, it's poison, and we rush to it, and it's packed down the street, and we lick our fingers, and they sit there and they collect our money. They collect our money. We are the number one consumers in this country. We spend the most money. We build a 16. I mean, we have the 16th largest economy. Again, like I said, on the face of the earth. But a lot of us live distressed lives. A lot of us are in dire straits. A lot of us. You know, that's not to say that, you know, some of us are not thriving and coming up, and shout out to those brothers and sisters, and keep the faith and keep it moving. You know, spread it around. But there's a great majority of us who are still in these same relegated positions that we've always been in. You know, with no hope, no way to get out, and this is the mentality that is perpetuated. A lot of the reasons that we are in the state that we are in is because we don't have proper education in our neighborhoods, because we don't get the funding, because we're not important. See? And this is why I believe that these things need to happen, because we can do it ourselves. We can do it ourselves. We can educate our own children. I mean, especially in a place like where I live in Florida, where the governor here wants to erase black history altogether, which I just think that is the most disrespectful thing in the world. But some things have to happen. Some things have to take place. And they're not always going to seem nice. They're not always going to be what you expect of them. They're not always going to be what you think. There's so many things that make this a necessary thing to do. There's so many factors that make this a necessary thing to do, and it has really more for us. And it's not to validate ourselves; it's really to validate ourselves to ourselves. We have something to prove to ourselves, that we can prosper just like everybody else in this country. And we don't have to be relegated to these spaces that we're in. We don't have to be here. And in fact, and like I said, more and more, and shout out to you, more and more brothers and sisters are making moves, buying land, doing real estate deals, developing property, making money, empowering black neighborhoods. Because what happens in black neighborhoods is there's things like predatory business, like your Chinese food restaurant, for instance, or your nail salon, or the beauty supply. Those are all predatory type businesses. And what I mean by the predatory business is these people, they're not of our race. They could be anything else but black people, but they'll come into our neighborhoods. They will not interact with us other than to serve us food, sell us hair, or do our nails. Okay? They don't have, maybe right out here in front of the store, we might be friends in the store, but that's it. But that is it. That's it. What happens is we go in these stores and we give them money. We give them our money all the time. We give them the 16th largest economy on the planet all the time. And what do? They, instead of taking that money and help the community that they're in, they take that money back to their communities and they put our money into their communities and they circulate and they better their communities. That's why all their communities look the way that they do and our communities look the way that they do. Now, that's not to say that all of our communities are run down, because there's not. There's actually, quite a few places where black folks just kind of settled. They just kind of settled here. It wasn't really a planned thing, but there's affluence or people that are well-to-do. That's it. Just kind of. But these things are now beginning to be planned, and people want this to happen. There are people that want this to happen, and people who don't want it to happen. And I think they don't want it to happen is because they are afraid of many things. And like I said earlier, one of them is that we would do the same things to them. But the other thing is that we would become more successful and more powerful. They want to keep us under their thumb or the watch on us, so that they need that revenue in order to continue what they're doing. They need our money. They need us. They really do, but they don't want to tell us that they need us. Just look at it, though. Look at the numbers. We spend more money than anybody else in this country. We have the 16th largest economy on the face of the earth. If we were our own country, we'd be the 16th largest economy. That's a big deal. It ain't number one, and it ain't number 99. We'd be major players. Just the black Americans, just us here in America. We'd be major players. Like I said, we're the most educated group on the face of the earth. Educated black group on the group of black people on the face of the earth. It's getting to the time that, and not just us, we are becoming self-aware, but Africa is also becoming self-aware. We're beginning to realize our potential. And we are putting up some big numbers, but we got a long way to go. And the laps around the track, we got a lot of laps. We got a lot of laps to run. But things like this can help us shorten the distance by allowing us to be like think about it. Look at all these neighborhoods. You got these neighborhoods over here. There are all these people. They're together, and those neighborhoods thrive. We are not together. We are scattered. We're everywhere, and they will not allow us to consciously be together. What is wrong with a bunch of people who love each other wanting to live around each other? What's wrong with that? I love my people. Yeah, I definitely would live someplace like that because I love my people. I love black people. I really do. We got some hang-ups. We got some problems. I got them same hang-ups and problems, but I love black people. I really, really do, and I always will. And, I want people to know that. We also want people to understand that what happened before happened before. This is a time now that we can get past all of that and we can continue our growth. We can look forward to our future of growth. We can help ourselves grow. But it seems that anytime that black people talk about growing or any kind of growth, they are always met with resistance or, some sort of governor where they have to be limited to something. We were always limited. But now those shackles are starting to come off. And we're starting to see people who are beginning to develop these things for our race. The same things that every other race in the country has. Just for ourselves. Just for us. Where if I choose to go to a black doctor, I don't have to look too far. There's one in my neighborhood. Isn't that segregation? Again, I don't think it really has to do with white people. I think it has to do with black people needing to be around each other in order to advance. And that's it. And like I said, we're still going to go to Target and you can come over and visit and whatever. I'm sure maybe, there's jobs you could get in this neighborhood, if you're not a person of color, if you're white. But the power structure won't be there. That power structure won't be there. That source of local government won't be there. And that's what we need. We don't need this current power structure. We cannot look for white people to help us fix our problems, to help us fix what's going on in our communities. We can't depend on that. And now I know that there are some that help, and believe me, I am appreciative of it. But excuse me, again, we cannot and should not depend on white people or any other race for that matter to help us get ourselves to we need to learn to depend on ourselves, and we are. And it's becoming a problem because they think that's what it's about, is segregation, when I really think it's about us turning the mirror around and saying to ourselves, I love you, and I'm willing to do something to help us grow. And if people want to call that segregation, I guess it could be classified that. My dad and I had this conversation. I called my dad after I talked to my friend and also my sister, because my sister and I, we had a same conversation and had a blow up about it also. So I called my dad and I explained to him, and he validated a lot of the points that I had. But at the same token, he did make me see where this could be, this could be also considered as segregation. I don't know, folks. I mean, I don't know, man. I don't know. I think that it needs to happen because of these reasons. I have my reasons. I've given you some of them. But am I right? Is what I'm thinking right? Is what I'm thinking that black people should do the right thing for us to do? And I guess we'll go over that when I come back from my break. You're listening to the Black Lives Don't Matter podcast with Darren Harris. I'll be right back.
Turning my pain into purpose is pretty much what I have done to start this foundation.
In August 2020, after the death of George Floyd, Bridget Floyd and other family members established the George Floyd Memorial Foundation in support of the Black community.
It's going to take more than just us as a foundation. It's going to take the community, the world, to make a change.
Fight for racial justice for the Black community. Learn how at lovehasnolabels.com. Brought to you by Love Has No Labels and the Ad Council.
Now back to Black Lives Don't Matter.
Hey folks, welcome back to the show. Yeah, so like I was saying before I went to break, is this segregation? Is it segregation? Does it need to happen? Would it be a good thing for it to happen? Would we be okay if this did happen? What if this did happen? My friend Dave, he basically said, he said it, well, this is exactly what he said. He said, I don't think your race would be successful if you segregated. And again, I explained to him that I didn't think or believe that this was quite segregation, but more or less an opportunity to build community. To build a community amongst ourselves, to build our community. This is an opportunity for us to build our communities the way that they should have been built when we were first trying to build them. Like I said, every other race in the country, they all have their neighborhoods, and nobody says anything to them about where they live or how they live or whether or not, if you go to an Asian neighborhood and all Asian people are working in all of the stores and all of the signs are in whatever language they speak, nobody really has a problem with that. If you walk through Chinatown, you're walking through Chinatown. You know what I'm saying? Nobody has a problem with that. But the first thing, if we want to have an area of our own, like I said, it's always met with with so much resistance. And it's going to take some time for people to understand this. But eventually I think that people will come around, especially when we are able to show that we are major contributors. And I told my friend, I said, listen, I don't believe that we would not be successful. As a matter of fact, I believe the opposite. I believe that we would be wildly successful. Remember what I said before. Black people are this group of black people here on this continent are the smartest group of black people on the face of the earth. On the face of the earth. And I'm not saying I won't say that. Let me not say the smartest. Our population of black people are the most population of educated black people on the planet. And our economy is the 16th largest in the world. And if we took that money and put it into our own communities, there is no way that we could not be successful. There is no way that we could not thrive as a people. That's the one thing that I believe frightens so many people is black people being successful, black people being able to contribute. There's so many parts of our history that have been erased. Good things, great things, wonderful things that have just been erased and forgotten and swept under the rug and written over. Well, things like, Black Wall Street and Rosewood and Ocoee, places like that, they have a scar on them that will remain. But us in this country, black folks in this country, we have a duty to those people. I feel that we have a duty to those people because they started it. They started it. They laid those first bricks. They paved the way. They showed us that it was possible. Those people showed us that it was possible for us to thrive in a community around each other. Somewhere along the way, we were poisoned. There was all kinds of legislation made to keep us where we were. And keep us these subservient citizens. The place where we should be. And newsflash, the place that we should be is the top. That's where we should be. But I think somehow we'll just take a few neighborhoods where we can hang out and do what we used to do like in the 50s and 60s before everybody started wilding out, before all of this stuff happened. In the 50s and 60s, what were we doing in the 50s and 40s and 50s? We were singing on the corner, man, doo-wopping. We loved each other. Everybody was black and beautiful. It was great. And then we started getting too much stuff. And that's when all the formulation began. Well, honestly, it never really stopped, but that's when it got kicked into full gear. All the manipulation throughout all the years has put us where we are today. And okay, you got us. But it is a new day. It is definitely a new day for us in this country. Because like I said, we have wonderfully educated people. We have people that are diligent. We have people that are dedicated. People that have love in their hearts for their fellow brothers and sisters, and would love to see them succeed and do good. Because think about it. If you walk out of your house and, wow, man, you take pride in that. You walk around. I mean, I've lived in many affluent white neighborhoods, which leads me to another point. A lot of times when I move in these neighborhoods, I get the evil eye. If somebody's wanting to know where I'm at. I was living in an apartment, and I had my camera, and I was in an alleyway, my alleyway, and I had my camera. I guess I was checking my phone, and I was standing right behind my car, but I was standing in the middle of the alleyway. My car was maybe a few feet from me, and out of nowhere, this lady walked up to me and said, "Hey, how you doing?" I said, "Hey, how you doing?" And I was looking down at my phone, and she said, "Who are you?" I said, "My name's Darren. Who are you?" She said, and she didn't tell me her name. She said, I've never seen you around here before. I said, "Yeah, well, that's cool. I live around here." She said, "That's funny. I've never seen you around here before." And right then, I pulled my car keys. I said, that's my silver BMW right there. That's my apartment right there. Okay? I don't have to prove anything to you, but I just want you to know that that's my apartment and this is my car. And I hit my beep, beep so that she could see. I wasn't trying to say, okay, I knew exactly what you were trying to do, but it's okay. It's cool. I get it. But do I want to live around that? If given a choice. And that's the one thing that he could not answer. If would you live in a neighborhood where you were not welcomed? No, I don't think anybody would. Now, I would live in a white neighborhood if people made me feel welcome, and I have. You know, I've lived in white neighborhoods where I have been like embraced. You know, affluent neighborhoods. I lived out in the Hamptons for a summer, and I had a wonderful time. Made some wonderful friends. It's possible. It's possible to have that, to go out and have that. But shouldn't we have that for ourselves also? Shouldn't we have that? I mean, shouldn't we? Shouldn't there be a neighborhood just like there's a neighborhood of Italians and a neighborhood of Greeks and a neighborhood of Koreans, a neighborhood of Bangladeshis and Pakistanis, Puerto Ricans, and white folks? All those neighborhoods thrive. They thrive because they put their money back into their neighborhoods. They have their businesses thriving. If you walk through a Latin neighborhood, all the businesses are owned by Latin people. If you walk through an Asian neighborhood, all the businesses are owned by Asian people. But if you walk through a black neighborhood, very few of the businesses are owned by black people. But I'm seeing a shift. Things like that are starting to change. Black people are opening more businesses. But we have to start supporting those businesses. Black businesses close a lot because they don't get the support from their community. Because we've been taught that this stuff is more valuable than our stuff. And I'll give you an example. We'll go buy a Gucci bag before we go over here and buy a Keisha's bag. You know what I mean? I've told you what I think needs to happen. And I'm going to wrap this up, but I just want to say to everyone out there, or anybody who's listening to my podcast, I just want to say this to you. Our things matter. Who we are as a people matters. What we are able to accomplish matters. I know it don't matter to a lot of people, but that's okay. I know a lot of people don't care, but that's okay. We don't need you to care because we care. At least we're starting to. My name is Darren Harris, and this has been the Black Lives Don't Matter podcast. I'll see you next week.